Hey, good morning, guys. I'm uh I'm procrastinating. I was supposed to do this message yesterday, but I didn't want to. I am I'm having a hard time. I'm having a really hard time talking about some of the things that I'm discovering about myself that I don't like um, in relations to what's going on in the world today. And I shared it, with a couple of my friends yesterday. Mike and Beth and my niece Clarissa. We were just all kind of talking about different things on the phone, and it's interesting, with everything that's going on with the protests, the riots, and the COVID, that it's almost impossible to hide from the truth right now. Um, and it's a painful, ugly truth about all of us. And so, me and my wife, I was sitting out on the swing, on my deck, my porch, whatever, and me and my wife were just sitting there, and then we watched this one lady walk by, the middle-aged white lady, and it looked like she had some cardboard signs cut out. And she waved and smiled, and we waved back. And my wife was like, "I bet you she just came back from a protest." And I was like, "You think so?" And she's like, "Yeah," because I couldn't see what was on the signs, but there was a good chance that she did just come back from a protest. And I had to take a look at myself. And mind you, this has been the question that's been going on in my own head: how I feel about what's going on right now. I mean, aside from George Floyd, that sparked all this, because things have been going on for a long time, and as I watched the lady walk by, and we smiled, she smiled, and I thought, I wonder if she's wondering why I'm not at the protests. And I'd ask my own self the question, why am I not at the protest? I haven't even looked to see if there was a protest in my area. I mean, really, literally, all you got to do is just drive a couple blocks and you'll see a protest. And it's not that I don't appreciate the protests for, people who are advocating for African Americans in this country who have been mistreated. I appreciate that totally. I was telling my niece the other day, I was just thanking her for having the courage to speak up, where my courage in this area has been watered down. I mean, if I want to just get blunt, it's been neutered. And I was talking to Mike about this, and because I grew up in a black neighborhood but went to a white school, and I have a lot of great friends on both sides. But the scary part that me and him were talking about was what was an advantage for me, because I learned how to operate in a world outside my own race. I learned how to work with white people very well, as you guys have seen in some of my videos. But what was an advantage for me to market myself and become successful as a counselor, um, is a disadvantage right now, because I've had to make a lot of compromises, consciously and subconsciously, to get to where I am. And I have developed blocks in my own mind to minimize the sacrifice of my African identity to fit into a Caucasian world. I'm just being real. I'm just being real. And it's not anybody else's fault. What? Okay, without getting all external, I look at the fear I still have. Not so much a physical fear, so to speak, but a fear of, would I have been as successful had I not subconsciously suppressed my black identity? That's what's been on my mind. And I know people are like, Will, you haven't suppressed, you haven't da 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 da. And I'm like, I don't know, because I know now. I mean, I'm looking at myself now with the hesitation to be identified in a protest because I know I am nervous about racial reprisal coming back at me because I've experienced it. Thank God a lot of the young people who are protesting have not experienced everything that I have. And that's why I was grateful for them. And if you look at it, over 50% of the protesters are white, standing with black men and women protesting. And that made me nervous because Amazon Prime has made a bold statement about Black Lives Matter, and they've slashed prices for every Afrocentric movie that's out there, like Selma or Just Mercy. And they slashed the prices to own it for, like, I mean, I think one of them was like $3 to own a movie that advocates, the history of black men and women in a positive time during a difficult period. And so I started buying a bunch of movies, and it's kind of crazy because I haven't watched any of them yet because I know, I mean, taking a hard look at myself, I'm afraid of the feelings it's going to cause. I'm afraid of the truth it's going to reveal about me. And have I been black enough? It's one thing to be, rejected by another race, but it's another thing to be rejected by your own race. And I remember when I was married, to my first wife, Barb, and she was, Caucasian, and and I've dated many Caucasian women, dated, women of other, I'm multiple other races, but regardless, um, my first girlfriend was a, wonderful white girl, and I'm only saying this for the point of this video, you know, um, and there was always this pressure I had to fit in, to be more than I am, to help, white people relax around me because I've always been a big guy, and to overcome the stereotypes. And then when I was dating white girls, it was difficult because I always had to, do extra to win them over, to let them see that I was a really good guy. And sometimes that worked and sometimes it didn't, and I hated to see the effect it was having on my girlfriend's family and her. I hate to see the rift it was creating. So as I got older, I stopped, dating women that could not tell their parents, and that their parents weren't cool with it because I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to break up a family. But then, as I left my first wife. We got divorced, and I married my second wife, and I brought her to meet my mother and father. And it was a shocking revelation because I never had a serious relationship with a black woman. I'd had a couple, some encounters, some dates, some hookups, but I'd never been with a black woman in any kind of significant way. And so I was bringing her to come meet my parents. And the funny part is her name is the same name as my other wife. It was Barbara, which that's a long story, and my close friends know how that happened because I didn't know her real name. I always knew her nickname. So, anyways, I brought her to meet my mom and dad, and mom was so pleasantly shocked to find out that she was a black girl, and I did not realize the relief she had of me dating someone in our own race. And my sister, told me, confessed to me not too long. I forget when it was, about 3 or 4 years ago. Hold on a second. Sorry, guys. About 3 or 4 years ago, she had confessed to me that grandma had issues with my first wife, and I never knew, you know, because she was white. And so when I was dating, white women, I always felt that pressure because in essence, even though I know it's more acceptable today, it is it's still difficult for an interracial couple to fit in because neither world truly accepts them and is totally comfortable with them because of the lack of understanding between the two races still. We have a surface understanding, but we don't go deep unless we are actually in a relationship with that person, whether it's a close friendship or your partner that you love. And then there's still a process of understanding and studying the culture. Because as I told my one friend Beth, I said, I don't even know my own history. So how can I be upset when white people don't understand black people when I don't even know my own history as well as I should? So when I ended up marrying my wife, my second wife, I had to confess that there was a sense of relief that I that I wouldn't have to battle the racial tension of being with somebody outside my race. I mean, this is just true confessions, okay? And so when I see white people protesting with us, it activates the fear and uncomfortability that I had when I was dating, Barbara, the first Barbara. I know it's confusing because when I was looking at the trailer for the movie Selma, it was about Martin Luther King when he went to the city of Selma, I believe that's how it was, and how things were bad back then as far as protests for when black people protested, but they got exponentially more violent when white people joined them. And so as I watched it, and I'm probably gonna watch it today. it activates my fear of reprisal when I see the whole country waking up or trying to wake up to the racial disparity that's going on. And I know, I mean, I'm telling you, it's exhausting for me because I'm battling my own fear to speak out. I didn't want to do it. I don't like doing these videos. I don't, because I have to get real with myself. And for a lot of people who don't understand, and that's why I give these examples about the things that I've gone through. Like I left out what happened when I first came to Delaware. I got a job in corrections, and I had to go through the background check, and I went in, and the man started asking me these really inappropriate questions. How many babies do I have? Didn't ask me if I had any kids. He said, how many babies do I have? That was one of the one questions that stuck out. I said, I don't have any kids, and he's like, that you know of. And because of my own blindness, I didn't understand how wrong that was for him to have that attitude with me. And then he asked me if I had any aliases, and I said, I don't have any aliases. And he asked me everything twice. And then, because of, I mean, you guys have seen my videos, I use humor to decrease tension, and I also use it as a deflection, which is, it's a deflection, it's a deflection as a defense mechanism for myself when I feel uncomfortable. And so when he asked me the question about, kids, I deflected and I said, not every black man has children. And I kind of said it like, ha ha. And he got mad and would not let me get hired as a correctional officer. And so he held me for several months. He said, well, your record looks too clean, and I'm gonna spend some time checking it out because I don't believe you. Now, mind you, my record is still clean. Not because I was afraid of law, but because I was afraid of my grandma and my mom. I mean, my grandfather was a pastor. My dad was a cop who actually, my dad could have been in the FBI, but he turned it down. And my mom was a nurse. And so any one of those people would have kicked my behind if I would have gotten into any kind of serious trouble. The most trouble I ever got into growing up was I think I got 6 or 7 detentions in high school because I was a jokester and I would get a detention for talking. And so that happened, and dad, I was held for 3 months where I had to work out of the office, and I wouldn't get benefits, and I wouldn't get my full pay until I was cleared. And I did not tell my parents for months, for at least 2 months, because I thought it would straighten itself out. I thought, the man just made a mistake, and it would be no problem. And I kind of went into my own denial. No, I did go into my own denial of what was happening until I called my dad and said, Dad, because I talked to my parents on a regular. And he told me, he's like, that's not right. And so he immediately wrote the governor, pretty much threatening to sue the state. And overnight, it flipped. And they came in and apologized, called me in, let me work at whatever jail I wanted to. And you would think that would have been the end of the story with working for corrections, but it wasn't. But I'm not going to tell you any more about that. But that's the kind of stuff that I experienced. And I was telling one of my friends, I said, I don't believe in my life. And Mike said I minimized even my statement. I told my friend that I experienced at least 2 to 3 instances of racism a year. And Mike said, Will, why did you even say such a low number when you know it's more like 2 to 3 times a month? And I know why. I know why. In my mind, I look. I stutter just talking about it. I didn't want my white friends to feel uncomfortable, and I think that's what's going on today. The truth is so ugly about what's been going on that our knee-jerk reaction is we want to water it down to make it more palatable, to make the medicine go down a little bit easier. But there's really no way to water this down. And so I have to take a look at my own self and override my own fear and talk about some uncomfortable truth with the people around me, you know, starting with myself. So that was kind of my topic for this morning, guys. Dealing with our own truth, I know how difficult it is for us to deal with what's going on right now. But please, I'm begging black and white people and Asian, Hispanic. I'm begging everybody who watches these videos, don't close your eyes. Don't try to wish this away. We need to wash this away. This is an ugly stain that our nation has endured for too long. And it's been septic. It's been infected. And we keep trying to put band-aids over top of it. And we really need to do some significant surgery if we're ever going to heal. So I'm just encouraging everybody not look, I want us to resist the urge to act out in anger, rage, or fear and start acting in love. I'm not trying to be all campy. I'm not trying to be all corny. But the real healing between races has to start with compassionate conversation. And I'm not speaking against the protests because because we wouldn't have gotten to this point if it wouldn't have started with with the worldwide protests. Okay, this is something that has never happened before in our history, and we need to take advantage of this. Stop trying to go back to sleep. Wake up. We have an issue that we need to deal with, and we need to talk about, and we need to work with. I mean, so please hear me. So, if you like the channel, subscribe. If you want me to come speak at your church, please hit me up. I am more than willing because I believe this really should start in the churches. So if you guys are going to church, um, talk to your pastor. Say, hey, what are we doing to help heal this problem? Go to bat for me, like you guys have been doing. And I appreciate everybody out there who's been forcing the issue to repair racism instead of trying to cover it up. You guys are my heroes. So I'm signing off, going to work. Keep me in prayer, please, because as a counselor, I mean, mind you, business is great, but it's wearing on me. It's wearing on me. So I could definitely use some prayer. Okay. Um, that's all. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace.